The Texas Rangers are lucky to have two aces who can turn a tough stretch around with a strong outing. Yu Darvish has been on a roll since returning to the rotation. He looks to add to his string of 6 consecutive quality starts when he faces the Cincinnati Reds tonight. It is truly the dog days of summer here in Cincinnati, and your Texas Rangers are looking to sniff out a win before heading home. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by high-speed internet from AT&T. That is a cloudy, warm, and humid night here on the banks of the Ohio River, Cincinnati, Ohio. The scene tonight at Great American Ballpark is the venue as your Rangers take on the Cincinnati Reds. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Grieve, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us this Wednesday night of Ranger Baseball. Rangers looking for a W, and they are turning to one of their two aces. That would be Yu Darvish tonight, who has been pitching as well as anybody in baseball.
He has, Buzz. He's certainly throwing the ball as well as we can remember him throwing it. And the other part of it is he's had extra rest. He's had a couple of days extra rest coming into this start, so he should feel great tonight. We've been talking a lot about him and his last several starts. His last start was an exceptional start. He pitched 7 innings in that ball game. He's had a game where he threw over 100 pitches, 107 pitches. So he's strong. He's throwing his fastball. He's throwing a lot of strikes, and he's getting great results. Still getting his share of strikeouts. And the Rangers on a little bit of a losing streak. Look to him to break that tonight.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy that you look to snap a losing streak for you in the last 3 starts. 2-0 with a 1.74 ERA, and he and Jonathan Lucroy have really teamed up to hold down the opposition. You saw just the 2 walks and 22 punch-outs in those 3 starts. So Rangers trying to chase down a win here tonight and bring back a victory as they get set to take on the Cincinnati Reds. We'll be back with more from Great American Ballpark right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. West is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales Event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T High-Speed Internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And a beautiful shot of Great American Ballpark here in downtown Cincinnati. Looks like the rain's going to stay away for a while anyway. Hopefully the Rangers and Reds can get this thing in and Rangers can get back home with a W under their belts. Before we get things underway, let's check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, as you know, Rangers shut out for the 8th time last night. More troubling, perhaps, is the fact that 4 of those 8 have been in the last 17 games. The offense is in a bit of a downturn right now. Elvis Andrus isn't the problem. He's in the midst of a 5-game hitting streak, but he knows what his teammates need to do to get out of the funk.
Then trying to stay your own game. Don't try to do too much, especially when the offense is not going where we want. Don't try to put pressure on yourself. Just continue to have good at bat. Trust the process, because sooner than later that you got a couple hits, a couple opportunities, and then the big hit. So we've been through this year so far, and we know what we need to do to just stay calm and just continue to push.
And you may have heard Elvis admit during Rangers Live, the pregame edition, that sometimes with a guy like you, Darvish, on the mound, it actually helps the offense, too. They get a couple of runs, and they know Darvish will make them stand up. It's the dog days of summer, at least here in Cincinnati. Yeah, Bark in the Park night here, as there are lots of dogs and lots of people on hand for Game 2 of this series.
With Ian Desmond again, he's playing center field. Carlos Beltran is in the second spot of the order. Adrian Beltre is third. Rougned Odor is the cleanup hitter. Jonathan Lucroy bats fifth. Mitch Moreland will hit sixth and play first base. Nomar Mazara is in left field. Elvis Andrus is the shortstop, and pitching, Yu Darvish.
And that lineup for Jeff Bannister tonight, facing the 28-year-old right-hander Tim Adelman. Adelman, who made his Major League debut earlier this year as a 28-year-old, a big guy at 6'5", goes about 225 pounds. Sinker, changeup, curveball type pitcher, and he will have the advantage early because the Rangers haven't seen him yet. And apparently, he likes to do the same kinds of things that we saw from Dan Straley last night. That elevate the fastball occasionally and throw that breaking ball. So Rangers not able to solve Straley last night. Hopefully they'll have better luck tonight against Tim Adelman. And the Reds defense behind Adelman tonight, same as last night. Duvall, Hamilton, and Schebler, left, center, and right. Votto and Phillips on the right side of the diamond. Peraza and Suarez on the left with Ramon Cabrera, the only difference in the lineup tonight for the Reds. He is catching for Tim Adelman. Well, the Rangers trying to snap a 3-game losing streak. They're now back to 20 games over 500. They come in at 73 and 53. Entering today, they still maintained a 5.5 game lead over the Seattle Mariners. Last check, Mariners losing again this evening to the Yankees. That game has gone final, so the Rangers at this moment have a 6-game lead over Seattle. And the first pitch of the ball game from Adelman is low and outside for ball 1. Now Desmond, a .290 average, 20 home runs, 74 driven in. Second straight time now that Desmond has hit in that leadoff spot, playing in the National League with the pitcher hitting. The Ranger lineup just kind of moved up one spot for everybody. Desmond to the leadoff spot. Beltran, Beltre, Odor follow along with Rucroy and Moreland. Here's the changeup, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, the Rangers, as you heard John Radigan talk about, shut out for the 8th time last night, the 4th time in the last 17 ball games. It has been a little bit of frustrating time for the Ranger hitters. 2 hopper out to Phillips, and he will throw out Desmond. 1 away. Next to be Carlos Beltran. I say it's been a frustrating time. Tom, you know as a hitter, or as a player, I guess, that you're on that kind of a streak, and other than knowing you're just not swinging the bats well, do you realize the gravity of it? That it's been 4 times in the last 3 weeks you've been shut out?
Oh yeah, I think the players know that all too well. The other part of it, though, is the guys down in uniform are the best equipped to deal with it and handle it. Mm-hmm. The rest of us that watch it and talk about it and write about it are the ones that panic. Those guys aren't worried about it. They know they can hit. They know what their track record is. They've had stretches like this before where they've struggled offensively. And you just, in this situation, you just look at the names, you look at their careers, you trust what they've done, and you make the assumption that it's going to continue to happen. And you know, to me, a guy like Beltran, who's whatever he is, 0 for 20,
yep,
that just tells me he's on the verge of going 15 for 30. He's going to get hot. He's not going 0 for 20 much longer. So it's, you know, it's not fun to watch as a Ranger fan, but at the same token, you just trust your players and know that it's going to turn around.
And Carlos has that bat shattered in his hands, and a little pop up to second base for out number 2.
And, you know, with all due respect to the pitchers that we're facing, they've pitched very well against the Rangers, but these aren't Sandy Koufax and Clayton Kershaw that they're facing right now. It's kind of a combination of the other pitchers pitching against us have been pitching pretty well, and probably as much as that, the Rangers as a group aren't hitting the ball the way they're capable of. They're not swinging the bats the way that they will.
Yeah, and that goes back to that point we talk about quite frequently. Not necessarily how you're playing, it's how the other team is playing against you, how they're swinging the bats that determines a lot of what you can do.
Well, they're playing some teams. So much is made out of the Rangers haven't played well against teams with bad records. But, you know, in a short series, it doesn't really matter it's meaningless what the record is in a short series. You come in here for 2 games playing. Joey Votto's hitting .450 since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Straley's 5-0 in his last 7 or 8 starts. It doesn't matter they're 18 games under 500 in 2 games. If you get the right matchup with the pitchers that are hot for the other team, and several of their good players are hot offensively, you're going to have a hard time beating them.
Now Beltre lost a fly ball, shallow right center field, going out. Phillips makes the catch, and that will do it. Well, Brandon Phillips takes care of that pop-up. He handled all 3 outs in the first inning. No score after a half inning. now about the Cincinnati Reds lineup that will face Yu Darvish.
Well, the hot Billy Hamilton is leading off. He's a 300-plus hitter since the All-Star break. 31 stolen bases in his last 35 games. Jose Peraza, 300 hitter, is hitting second. Joey Votto, hitting .450 since the All-Star break, is batting third. Adam Duvall, an All-Star, is the cleanup hitter. Brandon Phillips is batting fifth. Scott Schebler is in right field batting sixth. Eugenio Suarez, 325 hitter in his last 32 games, is batting seventh. Ramon Cabrera is the catcher, and Tim Adelman bats ninth, and he is the pitcher.
And that's Brian Price's lineup that is facing Yu Darvish tonight, the 30-year-old right-hander making his 11th start overall. 4-3 for the year, a 2.75 ERA. That ERA is on the fall. 76 strikeouts in just 59 innings. And the league hitting only .221 against him. Yu Darvish making his 5th start now with Jonathan Lucroy behind the plate. And they have paired up to spin some dandies. Lucroy very positive in how he has assessed what Yu Darvish has done. So look, he's throwing the fastball where he wants to, and that sets everything else up. Last time they went primarily the slider as the breaking ball. 2 times ago against Detroit, they went more of the curveball. So they had the ability to use either one of those and an occasional changeup. And it's been a decidedly different Yu Darvish as Hamilton drives one to right. But Beltran there for the out, one gone. Take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense. It's delivered to you by DeMontron RV. And you saw Carlos Beltran the start in right field again. Ian Desmond in center. Nomar Mazara is in left. Moreland, Odor, Andrews, and Beltre around the infield with Lucroy catching for Yu Darvish.
Buzz, you're talking about 2 different kinds of breaking balls. One game featured the curveball, the other game the slider. Is that more a situation where Darvish is going with what he likes that day, or they're suited to the lineup that he's facing?
Well, I think it's a combination of the two, Tom. I think that, you know, some teams are, as we saw last time when he faced Oakland, that's a team that is going to have trouble with the fastball slider combination more so than like Detroit. Better off fastball, a little bit slower breaking ball. So that plays into it. It also plays into how Yu Darvish feels about his stuff.
Right.
And what I'm impressed about Yu Darvish, he started to ask Jonathan Lucroy, hey, which is my better pitch going? How's it working for me? And he's trusted him to give him the answers he needs. And that's one of the reasons they've worked together so well. 2 balls and a strike to Jose Peraza. Peraza, another one of the Reds that has been very hot since the All-Star break. Actually, Peraza coming up about 6 days ago. He's had 11 hits in his last 4 ball games. Peraza in his 3rd tour of duty with the Reds this year. 2-1 the count. And that will even things up. Talked about the Reds being hot. They have the 2nd best record in all of baseball since the All-Star break. They trail only the Cubs. The Reds are 22-14 since the break. Cubs are 27-10. They lead all of baseball. Last 8 ball games, one of the reasons why the Reds have been so good, they've scored almost 6 runs a game. Count has gone full now to Peraza. He is hitting second in the order. Joey Votto, the hot hitting first baseman, is next. Target set, down and away by Lucroy. Payoff pitch. Let's try it again. Yu Darvish has had quality starts in each of his last 6 outings. And for those of you who revere that stat, that's pretty impressive. He has been very, very good. That's the 2nd longest streak by any Ranger pitcher this year. Colby Lewis had 7 straight quality starts. Got him swinging. Little extra mustard on that at 95, and Darvish gets his first strikeout.
You know, there's been a lot of times in the past, and I'm not saying he would have done it here with Peraza, where Darvish, after throwing a fastball 3-2 that was fouled off, would say, okay, I'm going to trick you with a slider or a curveball. But in that case, he came back with another fastball and threw it right by Peraza.
That's a good point, Tom, and I think that signals a pretty good change in philosophy for Yu Darvish.
Yeah. I mean, there were games where we'd look at each other and go 3-2 and make the sign to each other. Here comes a hook.
That's right.
Here comes a slider.
Well, here's an interesting matchup for you. A very hot Joey Votto against Yu Darvish, and can't help but go back a few years to spring training down in Goodyear, Arizona. Joey Votto faced Yu Darvish for the first time, and it was memorable. Darvish threw him that real slow curveball, about 65 or 66 miles an hour. And to this day, I can't remember what he did on the first one. He either swung and missed, or
he looked bad. He swung at it like a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
He missed it by a mile and looked bad. Darvish made the mistake of, let's try that again.
Yeah. And I don't think Votto was necessarily setting him up, but he threw it a second time, and that ball still hasn't come down.
Yeah, I think Votto had a little fun going around the bases too. Had a little smile on his face. Spring training game.
Yep.
But Darvish probably didn't know much about Joey Votto, but he did after that.
That he did. And needless to say, I don't think he's going to throw two of them in a row again to him. He's got Votto in a hole now, 0-2. Bounces that one. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And we talk about Joey Votto, how hot he has been, and our Ford leaderboard puts that in perspective. First in average since the All-Star break at 455. Same thing on base percentage, 545. Better than half the time he's on base. Second in runs, third in RBI, fifth in slugging percentage. Those are real close to video game numbers. And that's just nuts. Darvish with a 1-2 pitch to Votto. Got him swinging. So Darvish, 97, gets Votto. He did not throw in the slow hook. And Yu has a couple of strikeouts in the first. After 1, no score from Cincinnati. Big times at the ballpark at Globe Life Park. Tomorrow night, it's Throwback Thursday. Rangers take on the Cleveland Indians, a 7:05 game. The first 10,000 fans will receive a Papa John's Texas Ranger Throwback Thursday collector pin. That commemorates Nolan Ryan's 5,000th career strikeout. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS. Big homestand coming up. Cleveland for 4. Mariners come in over the weekend for 3, and then the Astros come in for 3. 10-game homestand at Globe Life Park, and the Rangers happy to get off the road for a little while. There's a rip to center field by Odor.
That's just what should have happened to that hanger. 81 miles an hour, belt high and right down the middle of the plate. The only thing he could have done better is get it up in the air a little bit. hanging changeup up and out over the plate. And he hit that about as solidly as he can hit a ball.
Yep. Right on the good part of the bat. So, Rangers have the first hit of the ball game. Leadoff single by Odor. Here's Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy, in his last outing behind the plate with Yu Darvish, caught him against Oakland. Jonathan had a home run. See if that starts to be a trend for him. .292 average overall. These are the cumulative totals between the Rangers and Milwaukee. 20 home runs, a new career high, and 64 RBI. On base percentage of .355. That's outstanding. Adelman going to first. Mentioned Adelman's a big guy at 6'5", and you would figure that probably isn't real quick to home plate. At least most big guys aren't. We'll see if the Rangers, if they get some base runners, are able to take advantage of that. Inside, 2 balls, no strikes. Now Lucroy, 2 out of 12 on this road trip. Jonathan has some pretty good numbers against these Cincinnati Reds this year. We saw those very briefly up there. Back into the seats, 2-1. Lucroy, 5 home runs and 15 RBI in the 11 games that he's faced Cincinnati this year. .395 average. Slugging at a .921 clip. Odor, a modest lead at first. Lucroy last night 0 for 3. He did reach on a walk, so he's been on base either by a hit or a walk in 6 straight ball games and 8 of the last 9. And another foul, that evens the count. So the Rangers trying to find a way to get on the scoreboard. They have gone now 11 straight innings, make that 12 straight innings without putting a run on the board. It's the 7th inning on Sunday in Tampa Bay. The last time they were able to score. Two and two with nobody out. And another foul off to the right. Now the Rangers mentioned the streak of 4 shutouts in the last 17 games. The 4 shutouts in August for the Rangers, the most in Major League Baseball. The last 9 ball games, they've only hit .224 as a team. Hard ground ball. Votto picks it off. A flip to second, not in time there. Back to first, nobody covering. Everybody's safe.
Boy, you talk about wasting a nice play. Votto, you could tell Lucroy in that at bat. He took 4 or 5 swings, and in every swing he was trying to go the other way. I think he was trying to utilize the hole between first and second. He ended up hitting a rope that Votto made a nice play on, and then just lofted a careless underhand throw to shortstop way offline, and everybody's safe. That doesn't seem as though it would be the kind of play a veteran first baseman would make.
You wouldn't think so. I mean, okay, you make a throw like that, but then not to get back to the bag on top of it.
Yeah.
That's physical error and a mental error.
Yeah, that looked like bad instincts.
No, it's going to be an error allowing Odor to get to second. Fielder's choice allowed Lucroy to get to first. Nobody out. Here's Mitch. And Moreland takes strike 1.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to have some commentary about that play after they turned a double play, how the Rangers can't catch a break either. They hit a rope, looked like it's going into right field, turns into a double play. So instead of that, they did catch a break.
Now let's see if they can't make hay while the sun is shining. 0-2 to Mitch. Moreland 254 the average overall, 21 home runs, 51 driven in. Moreland 3 out of 11 on this trip with a home run and 2 RBI. He's got Odor at second, Lucroy at first. Infield shading him around to the right, but not in an overshift. And he pops it up on the infield. Infield fly rule will be in effect. Phillips takes care of throughout number 1. Well, you remember the comments last night after the ball game, but Jeff Bannister a little annoyed by the Rangers' inability, especially in the 1 inning when they had 2 runners on and nobody out, 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and not able to get them home. He said that's the genesis of a problem, and that we've had an offensive problem, and that you can put your finger on things like that. That the only way you're going to get out of a slump is to execute in those situations. Now here's Mazara, a 281 average. Nomar, 14 home runs, 46 driven in. One ball and no strikes. Mazara, 3 for his last 15 times to the plate. He'd shown signs over the last 3 weeks of turning things around offensively. Slipped back just a little bit. Now you go back over the last 2 months, been a 242 hitter. That after a torrid start. Ahead in the count here, though. 2 balls, no strikes.
They threw Nomar a lot of changeups yesterday, throwing them changeups today. Must be in their game plan. He actually hit the changeup pretty well yesterday. He was right on that changeup if it was a strike. Took it all the way.
That ball's ripped to right field. Going back, Schebler at the wall. Goodbye. Nomar Mazara gets the Rangers on the board. A 3-run blast. Texas 3, Cincinnati nothing.
Yeah, he took the changeup to get ahead in the count, and then he got a fastball right down the middle of the plate, and he was ready for it. Well, Nomar in a lot of his at-bats is just putting the ball in play, hitting line drives all over the field. But he has shown this year that out of nowhere he can turn on a ball and put a charge in it. And one he hit 490 feet in Texas, and 5 or 6 of the other ones he's hit. This one's not a tape measure shot, but it's a line shot that got out of here in a hurry. Boy, the Rangers take advantage of the error. Potential double play. Could have been a quick inning for Adelman. Instead, it turns into a 3-run inning for the Rangers. That's just what they were looking for.
Yep, you are right about that. Elvis has to duck out of the way of that breaking ball that didn't break.
Well, Buzz, maybe it'll be the 21-year-old that takes the pressure off the veterans.
There you go. 362 feet on that home run off the bat of Nomar Mazara. 1 ball, 1 strike. But Nomar, who had a home run Saturday down in Tampa Bay, and if I remember right, that was an off-speed pitch also. Able to crank this one out of here. A fastball that he just drove on a line into the seats in right. And a drive to center. Coming on in a hurry, but Hamilton,
he didn't catch it.
With a dive, he had to short hop it.
I just assume if it goes up in the air in that direction, he's going to find a way to catch it. That was just a beautiful play he made last night.
That's a pretty good short hop.
Yeah.
Diving and making that play.
I thought he went after the one last night even more aggressively than he went after that one.
Well, Elvis with a base hit, the 3rd Ranger hit in this inning. Elvis at first, still just 1 out. And here's Yu Darvish. He is showing bunt. Suarez, the 3rd baseman, about 55 feet from home plate. Now he's going to back up a step or 2. One strike. something the Ranger pitchers have been working on from time to time. They don't get daily bunting or batting practice like the National League teams would do. Darvish in his career is 2 for 12. Only one at bat this year, and he struck out against the Cubs in his first start after the All-Star break.
I'm not sure how pitchers practice bunting, but practicing bunting off a batting practice pitcher is not going to do you a whole lot of good in a game. Might get your technique down.
Back to Derek Holland last night. Chopper over Votto's head for his first major league hit.
He had trouble bunting himself. I think the only way that you can really practice bunting as a pitcher is go in the cage and crank the machine up to about 95 miles an hour and try to bunt that.
We used to practice it with the machine throwing sliders.
Yeah.
85 mile an hour sliders.
Yeah. I mean, that might not be the safest thing to do for a pitcher, but as far as trying to get a bunt down against a big league pitcher, that's what it's going to be when they come up in a game.
That's right.
They're not going to throw it in 60 miles an hour in the game.
Well, Darvish given the green light, and he swings through that high fastball. 1-2. You remember, if you're kind of blinking your eyes and saying, didn't Darvish bat left-handed in Chicago? Yeah, yes, he did.
Did he?
He did bat left-handed. That was the first time that he batted left-handed, either in Japan or the United States. And apparently he didn't like the strikeout. Chopper to third. You got to wait for somebody to get to second. Phillips has time to turn it over, though. And that'll do it. So the double play goes 5-4-3. Rangers, though, on the strength of Nomar Mazara's 15th home run of the year, with 3 runs on the board, will go to the bottom of the second, 3-0 Texas. On Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales Event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. Nice mosaic out there of the Big Red Machine. Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame just over the left field stands. A nice complex that they have here at Great American Ballpark. And Yu Darvish enjoying his surroundings at the moment. A 3-0 lead granted to him as he heads out for the second inning. He'll face the middle third of the Reds order. Duvall, Phillips, and Schebler. Darvish had 2 strikeouts in a 1-2-3 first inning. So you working on an extended 6 days of rest. And it looked like he was feeling pretty strong going out there for the first inning. Of course, it always makes you feel better when one of your teammates hits a 3-run home run, as Nomar Mazara did. Yu Darvish tipping his cap to Nomar. Thank you very much. I'll take it from here, young man. Well, here's Adam Duvall to start things off. Duvall hitting at 243. He's the team leader with 28 home runs, 82 RBI. 0-1. Numbers for Duvall. On base percentage a little bit lower than you would hope for, but Duvall, being around Joey Votto, is probably going to pick up some tips on how to raise that pretty quickly. A ball and a strike. Ball, a big, strong right-handed hitter. Hit him. Slow breaking ball at 71 miles an hour and just clipped him on the left shoulder, and he'll go down to first base.
Yeah, if I'm Adam Duvall, I'm going to do the same thing. Just stand right there and let that hit me, so I don't have to worry about hitting his 98-mile-an-hour fastball. It's one at bat. I'm going to have a good at bat.
That's the 5th time that Duvall's been hit by a pitch this year. So he is aboard to start off the second. Here's Brandon Phillips. Phillips, the veteran second baseman, a 285 average with 8 home runs and 50 RBI. Rangers play Phillips 2 steps around to the left of the infield. 0-1. Umpiring crew tonight, Dan Iasonia calling the balls and strikes. Crew chief Dale Scott down at first. Ramon DeJesus at second, and Bob Davidson, walking Bob Davidson down at third. Davidson last night worked his 1,000th career game behind the plate.
Wow.
1,000 for Bob Davidson. Congratulations to the veteran umpire. It's charged to center field. Going back is Desmond at the wall, hauls it in. Hustling back to first is Duvall. Desmond throws back there, but from 375 feet couldn't get it there in time. What a play by Ian Desmond to get rid of that quickly enough to make it even close.
Yeah, that ball looked pretty good coming off the bat. Fortunately, it was hit to that part of the ballpark. Phillips is a good hitter. He got a fastball to his liking inside part of the plate. Put a pretty good charge in it. Just didn't have enough to get it out of here to that part of the ballpark anyway.
Yeah, there's about a 40-foot wide section out there from Cincinnati bullpen over to a sign just to the right of dead center field where it's reasonable depth. The ball doesn't carry quite as well. 404 feet. And that's about the only place in this ballpark that's safe to give up fly balls to. There's that area out there from the gate right there from that chain link fence in front of the bullpen. Around to the right. About 40 or 50 feet wide. It goes out to 404 in dead center. Pitch inside to Scott Schebler. Schebler hitting at a 200 clip with 4 home runs and 18 driven in. 48 games now for Schebler. Taking over the right field spot since Jay Bruce was dealt to the Mets. 2-1. Reds at home with the win last night. Now we're a 500 team here at Great American Ballpark. 32-32. 54-71 overall. They have played very, very well, especially in this ballpark. Just inside, 3 balls and a strike. So Schebler eyeballing that one, trying to get aboard to join Adam Duvall. Eugenio Suarez, the third baseman, will be the next Red hitter. Lost him. So a hit batter to start the inning. 1 out later, a walk. There are 2 on with Suarez coming up. Have that little note for you during the pregame that prior to tonight, only 2 walks in the last 3 starts for Yu Darvish, with Jonathan Lucroy back there. They had teamed up to throw a lot of strikes. So that's just the 3rd walk in the last 4 starts.
And Chepler's only hitting 200 with a bunch of strikeouts, so that's not the guy you want to walk.
Yeah.
Suarez, on the other hand, has been hitting 325 in the last month.
And he has some pretty good home run power, in 19 home runs so far. So a spot where you want to be careful. You want to keep it out of the area of the plate that Suarez can drive the ball. Darvish ready to work. Breaking ball stays high and tight for ball 1. Suarez, over his last 32 games, has hit .325 with 3 home runs and 13 doubles. 2-0.
Yeah, so far, this is not the inning you were hoping to see from you. You wanted to see the repeat of the first inning after the Rangers put the 3 runs up on the board, having trouble scoring. They finally get the 3, and Darvish really threw the ball great in the first inning. Not so great here in the second yet.
And he misses low and away. 3 balls, no strikes. So Darvish now 1 pitch away from loading the bases for the catcher, Ramon Cabrera. Cabrera in that on-deck circle.
He's thrown 9 out of 12 pitches out of the strike zone. Last 12 pitches.
That one's right down the middle. 3-1. Well, you know, it seemed it's not an excuse for Darvish, and I would not do that for him. But when you make the last out of an inning like Darvish did and have to run to first base, it kind of messes your rhythm and timing up.
It's
going back to the dugout.
He hasn't done very often.
No. Runners on the move. Pitch outside for ball 4. That's going to load him up. No, back-to-back walks. Darvish now will deal with Ramon Cabrera with the bases full and 1 out. And he will do it after a visit from Doug Rocaille. You know, that may not seem like a very important point as far as making the last out, having to run to first base and run all out to first base, but it's something you're not used to doing. As an American League pitcher, you do it maybe once or twice a year at most, and it just messes with your head a little bit.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
No, Doug out there to see if he can't give Darvish a little bit of time to settle back down. Joined by Jonathan Lucroy and Rougned Odor. So bases full with 1 out. Darvish will face Ramon Cabrera, the switch hitting catcher. A .248 hitter with a home run and 14 driven in. Cabrera serving as the backup to Tucker Barnhart. First pitch from Darvish. Odor goes to second. That's all they're going to get. 1 run is in. Force play at second. Cabrera gets the RBI. It's now a 3-1 Ranger lead. And there are 2 outs with runners at first and third.
A nice play by Rugi to get a lead runner at second base. But because the ball was hit in that direction and took that big hop, there's no way they could get a double play. Got the ground ball, but not a ground ball suitable for a double play. But nice play to get the 1 out. And you've got the pitcher right here. So go right after the pitcher. And that's one of the big differences between the American League and the National League. The 9th place hitter should be a guy that you can get out almost every time.
Now, Adelman is 1 out of 10 in his big league career at the plate. One ball and no strikes. Adelman with a couple of RBI. His 1 hit was a double that produced those 2 runs. So Darvish trying to minimize the damage here in the second. One and 1. Next pitch from Darvish. 1-2. Darvish had a very muggy evening here in Cincinnati, trying to work around some damage of his own doing. He hit the leadoff man, Adam Duvall. Then with one out, walked Schebler and Suarez back to back. Fielder's choice ground out, got the second out of the inning, but it scored a run. Now he's trying to get his opposite number, Tim Adelman. A 1-2 pitch. All the way to the backstop, off of LaCroix's glove, in to score. Scott Schebler down to second. Goes Cabrera, and it's a 3-2 Ranger lead. Probably going to be scored a wild pitch. Be scored a pass ball. Okay. Official scorer figuring that since LaCroix knew what was coming, should have been able to do more than just get the tip of the glove on it.
I hate to see that happen with a pitcher up there. All you got to do is throw it right down the middle of the plate.
That 2-2 got him swinging. So the inning comes to a close, but the Reds come back with 2 runs, no hits in the inning. They leave 1, and after 2 complete, Rangers 3, Reds 2. And Ian Desmond will start things off when the Rangers come to bat in the 3rd. At Globe Live Park, don't miss the Star Wars post-game fireworks show on the Friday. It's presented by Takis. Head on out to Globe Live Park to see the Rangers take on the Cleveland Indians, and stick around to enjoy a post-game fireworks show set to John Williams' iconic score from Star Wars. Get your tickets at TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972 Rangers. Well, the Reds 2 runs on no hits in that second inning. Now the Rangers come to bat here in the 3rd, top of the order, to face Tim Adelman.
Yeah, since you came back from the disabled list, that's the first time we've seen an inning like that. That's just very uncharacteristic of the way he's been throwing the ball.
Fly ball hooking to left field, into the corner goes the left fielder Duvall, and in foul territory, able to make the grab. Desmond's retired for out number 1. He had kind of got that down toward the end of the bat. It stayed in play. So he 0 for 2. Coming right into your living room. Not a whole lot of foul territory there. Duvall had enough room to work with. Here's Carlos Beltran. He hits a fly ball to right. Didn't sound like he got all that one. Schebler, shy of the warning track, puts it away. There are 2 gone. Oh, a couple of fly balls very quickly. Rangers have nobody on and 2 outs for Adrian Beltre. Adrian popped out to shallow center field with second baseman Brandon Phillips, his first time up. .288 average for the Ranger third baseman. No balls and a strike. Adrian 6 out of 16 on this road trip. A couple of home runs. He has driven in a pair. 0-2. Tim Adelman trying to rebound from giving up the 3-run Nomar Mazara home run last inning. Beltre been very good in interleague play as a member of the Rangers. This is his 109th career interleague game as a Texas player. Hits this one well to right field. Schebler going back on the track. There's a little half leap, and that'll do it. So 3 up, 3 down. Rangers gone in order. We played 2.5 in Cincinnati. Rangers 3, Reds 2.
And one thing we've learned in the 3 weeks that Jonathan Lucroy has been here is that the guy doesn't dog it. He is all in all the time. I wondered if it's the work ethic that's visible because he's trying to learn his new team, or is it standard operating procedure?
I think that, you know, one of the knocks I've heard on catchers pretty much my whole career is that, oh, this guy's really good, but he doesn't do enough video work. He doesn't study. He doesn't do this, you know, he doesn't do that. And I don't ever want anybody to say that about me. You know, I want these pitchers to believe in what I call and to trust what I call, to know that I put the work and the time in to, you know, to research that stuff.
And he does it every day, and the pitchers seem convinced. They definitely seem to trust exactly what he calls, guys.
All right, John, yeah, good stuff, and that's very true. There is that trust element, and I think it was Yu Darvish that said when he came over, hey, this guy's got some skins on the wall. So there is that built-in respect factor that goes along with all the work that Lucroy puts in. And that's a very big part of that relationship that he has with every pitcher on that staff, is the trust and respect, and mutual respect that he is developing. Now, Billy Hamilton, a fly ball for out number 1. Here's Jose Peraza, who struck out in the first. Softly out to right field. Easy play for Beltran. 2 gone. Well, very quickly, 2 away here in the third before Joey Votto steps in. We're going to send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you.
Yeah, that was a pretty good matchup up there. Masahiro Tanaka and Masashi Iwakuma. And Darvish on the mound. All 3 of the highlighted Japanese pitchers were on the mound tonight. 3 of them anyway. Probably more than that. Those 3 were on the mound tonight anyway.
Now, Joey Votto stepping in 0 for 1. He struck out to end the first inning.
Mariners been swinging the bats pretty well, but Tanaka shut them down today. 7 shutout innings.
Darvish okays the sign from Lucroy. At the knees. 1-2. Now talking about the Seattle Mariners, how about former Ranger Nelly Cruz since the All-Star break? 288 with 9 home runs, 20 RBI, and 19 runs scored. He has been right in the middle of a lot of those Seattle Mariner offensive uprisings.
The Rangers are going to see a lot of the Mariners the next couple of weeks. There'll be some good matchups. Great homestand coming up. The Indians, one of the best teams in the American League. 4 games against some of the best pitching in baseball. You'll see 4 excellent starters in that series. And the Mariners and the Astros renew their rivalry with the Rangers. Well, that's been some tough stretches over the last month, and that's a pretty tough stretch right there. See if the Rangers can capture that magic of playing well at home against those 3 solid teams.
The good thing about this one is you're playing at home. You got 10 days or 10 games at home. Votto being pretty pesky up there. Fouls off the pitch. Still 1-2. Yeah, Rangers play the Mariners 7 times in a span of 10 days, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And that those 2 series will go a long way toward determining the winner in the American League West, you would think. Votto again just choking up and spoiling some pretty good Darvish pitches.
It'd be nice to get a head start on that home series with a win tonight and pick up a game on Seattle and make it 6.5 games going home. And the Rangers just have to finish this one out, score some runs, and get the job done.
Lucroy flashing the signs out. Wants that slider down in the dirt, it looks like. Reached out, pulled over to Odor. Easy play for Rougned. And that'll do it. A very quick and easy 1-2-3 third inning for you, Darvish, who bounces back nicely. So 3-2 Rangers as we go to the 4th. And now let's go to Rick Renner in our Rooms to Go lounge. baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. And by the all-new 3-row Mazda CX-9, meticulously crafted for driving because driving matters. A beautiful shot of the Queen City and on the banks of the Ohio. Great American Ballpark. Rougned Odor swinging at the first pitch, rolls out to his counterpart, Brandon Phillips. No, 1 pitch and 1 away here in the 4th inning. That'll bring up the Ranger catcher, Jonathan Lucroy. Well, Lucroy, in that 2nd inning, had a sharply hit ground ball to Votto that turned into no outs. Votto threw it a little bit off the mark to 2nd, and they couldn't get the return throw in time to anybody covering first. So both Odor and Lucroy were safely aboard. And 1 out later, Omar Mazara put 3 on the board with 1 swing of the bat. One ball, no strikes. That will even things up. Slow breaking ball. That drops in to make it 1-2. You know, Adelman, after that 5-hitter stretch, really hasn't given the Rangers anything. A 1-2-3 first inning, a 1-2-3 third inning. He's retired the first hitter here in the 4th. 2-2 to Lucroy. Jonathan with more home runs and RBI in his career against Cincinnati than any other team. And 13 home runs. He has driven in 45 over the years. Full count. Well, Lucroy coming back from being down on the count. Make it full. Lucroy trying to reach base here in the 4th. He'll be followed by Mitch Moreland. Adelman ready. We'll try another 3-2 pitch.
Got a couple of shout outs. We got one to Christy, Cindy, Kim, and Katie. They're here in Cincinnati. They're visiting their 21st ballpark.
Good for them.
And also Troy and Heather King are here celebrating Troy's 40th birthday. All of them would like to say hi to their friends back home. Hopefully they'll get a chance to see a Ranger win tonight.
Now the Rangers, as you mentioned, Tom, would really be well advised to put one under their belt.
Yeah, this is a good one to win.
Yeah.
You don't want to go home with a 4-game losing streak. You want to not take advantage of a Seattle loss and a chance to pick up a game.
To drive to right center field, Hamilton on the move. He's going to be able to run it down. Well, that is some kind of speed that Billy Hamilton uses. If you want a definition of what closing speed is, watch the ball go in the air and then watch what Hamilton does.
You can watch how fast he is just by watching the other outfielders that are going after the same ball. He's making about 3 steps to their 1 step.
He could cover some ground in a hurry. Well, the StatCast got him last night at 22 miles an hour on that 1 ball in the gap that he took away from Carlos Beltran.
Yeah. We were talking about Usain Bolt and how fast he could run. We didn't have the slightest idea. I saw in the paper that I believe it said he averaged 23 miles an hour in the 100 meters, but reached a speed of 27 miles an hour in that race.
Yeah.
So I have to think that Hamilton can go to first base a little bit quicker than he can go after a fly ball with a glove on. And I have to think that he'd be a little bit faster in a 100-meter dash with the same outfit you wear for a track meet rather than a baseball uniform.
Yeah, you would think so.
I'm not saying he's as fast as Usain Bolt either.
Mitch rifles one to right center. Hamilton dives and comes up with it. Second circus catch in as many nights. And Billy Hamilton getting the adulation of Tim Adelman after that great play. He takes a base hit away from Moreland this evening. Billy Hamilton covering the ground and all-out dive. 3-2 Rangers after 3.5. Mobile. Kansas City Royals 9 straight wins. Well, they're climbing right back into things. Now 4 games back in the AL wildcard race. Bullpen, a team record 32 consecutive scoreless innings. They're facing Miami tonight. Miami a game and a half back in the NL wildcard. Meanwhile, Giants and Dodgers continue their huge series in LA. Johnny Cueto at 14-3 on the hill for the Giants. Dodgers winning last night. As they beat Madison Bumgarner, take a 2-game lead over their rivals from the Bay Area. Bark at the Park, one of the best nights in baseball. Bring your buddy out here and
hope they got plenty of water for him tonight.
Share a hot dog with him? No, I guess they wouldn't. They wouldn't like hot dogs, would they?
I think they probably would.
Here's Adam Duvall leading off the 4th inning for the Reds. And Darvish falls behind, 2 balls and no strikes. And Darvish, since the 1st inning, really hasn't looked the same. I don't know what you can attribute that to, but
he struck out Peraza with a 96-mile-an-hour fastball and Votto on a 97-mile-an-hour fastball. And you're right, since then, kind of struggling with his command.
Off speed, that's a little bit high at 3 balls and no strikes.
That pitch is all the way in the strike zone.
Yeah.
I can't think of any reason why that's not a strike.
That's exactly what Jonathan Lucroy is suggesting to Dan Iasonia. 3-1. Darvish now 50 pitches for the evening. Duvall waiting. Darvish with the 3-1 offering. Lost him. 3rd walk of the night for Darvish.
What did Darvish walk? 2 in the last 3 games.
Yep.
2 walks, 22 strikeouts.
Yep.
Walked 3 in the last 3 innings. 2 innings actually. There's nobody out here in the 4th. No, he's trying to find what he had in the 1st inning right now.
Yeah, he is. And something happened mechanically because he just doesn't have the same mechanical approach that he had that 1st inning. Not throwing the ball the same way, and the release point is all over the place. Now 1 on, nobody out. Brandon Phillips, who flied to center in the 2nd, will step in. Phillips a .284 average. And he helps Darvish out a little bit, going after that 1st pitch for strike 1. Jacobs approaching 2,000 career hits. Been a mainstay for the Reds at second base. 4-time Gold Glove winner. Soft fly ball to right field. Easy play for Carlos Beltran. That is 1 out. Duvall staying at first, and now Scott Schebler will come up. Schebler was the one that really started the bad streak for Darvish in that second inning. Schebler drew a walk. That was followed by another walk to Suarez. 1 run scored on a fielder's choice ground out. Another scored on a pass ball. Left-handed hitting Schebler up there. Rangers going to an overshift on the infield. Swinging strike 1. Elvis a step to the first base side of second. Then Odor midway between the two bags. Adrian Beltre over there at third, a good 35 feet off the line. One ball and 1 strike. Schebler playing in his 21st game since coming back up the 2nd day of August. Hit just a little bit over 200, 210 since that time. Darvish peering in for the sign from Jonathan Lucroy. Two balls and a strike. Well, Darvish getting frustrated, but Dan Iasonia is not going to call close pitches for him as long as he's all over the place. I know that doesn't sound like it's right, but think about it. You eyeball a strike zone from an umpire standpoint, and all of a sudden guys are throwing the ball left and right and high and low, and they expect the one that's right on the corner to be called a strike. That's just not going to happen. Darvish now falling behind 3-1 to Schebler.
Again, Schebler is just a 200 hitter with a lot of strikeouts, so this is, I mean, you want to pitch carefully at any major league hitter, but more so to some and less to others. Biggest thing is throw a strike to this guy.
Rip to Moreland, who has it. Can't get back to put a tag on Duvall, but that ball was headed for the corner. That was scalded.
You throw him a strike, you get an out. Of course, a strike on 3-1 when he's looking for a fastball is a little bit better, but I'd like to see the exit speed from that one. That was a rope. I'm glad Mitch was at first base with a glove on his right hand.
Yeah.
If it was on his left hand, that right hand thrower, I don't think he would have been able to come across his body and catch that.
Great reactions by Mitch Moreland.
Great reactions by Duvall to get back.
Yeah,
too.
You're right.
Of course, it was hit so hard he couldn't go too far.
Now that is the second out. A screamer for the second out here in the 4th inning. Eugenio Suarez now, who drew a walk his first time up, steps in. And Darvish gets strike 1.
He got strike 1 on that side of the plate. He just didn't get it on the other side of the plate to the left-hand hitter. Same pitch, different side of the plate.
Came back with a slider. 0-2. See where the target is set down and away, and that's that front door slider that started off the plate inside and caught the corner. Not sure that's what he had in mind, but at this juncture, I think he'd take anything that gets to Lucroy. Once that high fastball, didn't quite get it high enough. But, foul ball, no damage done. You see what the main problem I see with Darvish is having right now is that body is kind of flying before his arm gets ready. Body's out in front of his arm, and to get the pitch down, he's kind of jerking it across the strike zone. Got him swinging there. He got that pitch up. So strikeout number 4 for Darvish, and the leadoff walk is no problem. Reds gone, and after 4 complete, Darvish getting his strikeout sends the Reds down. 3-2 Rangers.
Welcome you back to Great American Ballpark, Cincinnati, Ohio. On the short 2-game series, it's hard for a guy like me to eat at all the places that you want to eat in a new town that you haven't been to since 2007 or 08. But we had to go to the Montgomery Inn. It's famous for ribs. The original is actually in Montgomery, Ohio, but this is the Inn and Boathouse. Look at the location right there on the Ohio River with the bridges in the background. Great views from the inn, and the ribs are delicious. Now, it's a barbecue sauce the likes of which we're not accustomed to in Texas. Very sweet. Seems like there's lots of brown sugar in there, but it's a very good barbecue sauce on the ribs at the inn. And then, of course, you got to wash that down. You got to get that tang out of your mouth. Right, look at that. Look at that beautiful ice cream cone. That comes from Grater's, which is an ice cream store, and as you can tell by what's in the background, a bakery that's been around since 1870. Now, to me, anything that's been around since 1870 has got to be good. I don't think they were able to mix things up as good back in 1870, and they still mix it the same way, because I could actually taste granules of sugar in the ice cream. And I like that, guys. I thought that was really good.
I thought you were getting ready to complain about it, John.
Oh, it was awesome.
That was the locale, right? The locale serving. Sure, John would get that.
I guess if you've been in business since 1870, you must be doing something right.
I would think so. Been here almost as long as the Reds have been here. 0-2 to Mazzara. And Nomar fights it off foul. Now Mazzara, first time up. The Reds beat him by a year. Beat Grater's by 1 year. The original team in the National League.
I mentioned that they seem to be throwing Nomar a lot of off-speed pitches, and after he hit the fastball for a home run, I guess that will kind of reinforce it. But they keep throwing on those off-speed pitches. They're liable to have the same problem they had with the fastball. He'll zero in on one of them.
And he lays off that one in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes. As strong as Mazzara is, it doesn't. You don't have to supply any of the power for him. He'll take care of that. Could be a straight changeup, a slow curveball. He makes solid contact. It's going to go. Got him here, though.
Good location with that one.
Yep. Adelman with his first strikeout of the night. One gone. Elvis Andrus coming up. And Elvis, our TXU Energy power player to watch tonight. For Elvis, the last 8 road games, how about a .458 average? Gone 11 for 24. 3 RBI, 3 runs scored, a .1077 on base plus slugging. Elvis 1 for 1 tonight. Broken bat roller out to short. In the dirt, dug out nicely by Votto. 2 gone. Votto saved Peraza an error by digging that thing out of the dirt. Well, here's you, Darvish. Darvish tapped into a double play his first time up.
The Brewer must be picking up pieces of Elvis's bat.
Yeah, I think so. 0-1 the count. Darvish now 2 out of 13 in his career. The 1-2 pitch from Adelman. Ball's hit well to center field. Hamilton
Get out of here.
On the move back, dead center. Goodbye.
You got to be kidding me.
You, Darvish, driving that over the 400-foot marker, dead center field. That is the first Ranger pitcher to have a home run since Bobby Witt did it in Los Angeles.
I'm thinking to myself, just take strike 3. You don't have to run to first. You'll get back to the mound a little bit quicker. Instead, he unloads on one.
Yeah, and he did every bit of that, too. That got out of here in a hurry. Now, you finally found somewhere in center field that Billy Hamilton couldn't make a play on it.
And I'll let him sit down and rest for about a minute and a half. So.
Yep.
I don't care if it is right down the middle. It's still a pitcher hitting, and he took a good swing and drove it 400 feet.
410 feet is the measurement.
We've seen some balls hit pretty well by position players that haven't gone out of there in that direction.
Nice to see Billy Hamilton have to pull up and just watch it. No, a 4-2 Ranger lead now. Tapper is just fouled by Ian Desmond.
Well, you didn't expect the Reds to score a run on a wild pitch, 2 outs, and the pitcher at bat. So that pretty much duplicates that right there, maybe by more, with the other pitcher hitting a home run. Man.
June 30th of 1997, Bobby Witt at Dodger Stadium, the last Ranger pitcher to go deep. Until you, Darvish. That was impressive.
It really was. One thing to hit one right down the line, but
yeah,
to shoot a line drive 400 feet to center field. I wasn't really looking for that.
Now Desmond tees off on one to left field. It is out of here. Ian Desmond, a low line drive that got over the yellow line. His 21st home run of the year. It is a 5-2 Ranger lead.
The Rangers haven't been able to get many rallies going, but they're taking care of the rallies with a long ball today. That's the 3rd one. That's accounted for all the runs. The only question on that one, whether it was high enough, whether it was going to hit the top of the wall and come back. That made the park look like a Little League park the way that thing jumped out of here. That's more like it.
Holy cow. A double thunder. Now Beltran A line drive into the glove of Votto, and that will do it. But the Rangers drop a couple on Tim Adelman. Yu Darvish with his first career home run. Ian Desmond with his 21st home run of the year. We will go to the bottom of the 5th inning. The Rangers on top of the Reds 5-2.
I love my little bed at home.
Those loud noises the Ranger hitters put on the baseball last inning. And one of those, Yu Darvish knocked his first career home run. Our Quicken Loans Rocket Arms feature for you. Chris Archer, 62 strikeouts since the All-Star break. That's the most in Major League Baseball. Yu Darvish, only one behind, 61. Tied for second in the Major Leagues along with Justin Verlander. But neither Verlander nor Archer have home runs, and Darvish does.
Yes, he does. Well, in the all-important bragging rights among the pitchers, Darvish just zoomed to the top of the heap.
Yeah, he did.
Everyone else can just keep quiet now. He just shut them all up. They're pretty excited about Derek's dribbler into right field last night. Looking at something out there.
They're waiting for the clock, the countdown clock, to play all the way down. Apparently it got reset the wrong way. Ramon Cabrera leading off here in the Reds' 5th inning. 1 ball, no strikes. Cabrera 0 for 1. He grounded into a fielder's choice, but that drove in the first run of the game for the Reds back in the 2nd inning. Just a little bit outside. 2 balls and a strike. And we'll see if Darvish hitting the home run gets him back into the good graces of his mechanics.
Hopefully he had enough time to cool back down and catch his breath before he had to go back out there.
Shallow left field, kind of a lazy fly ball to Mazzara. 1 gone. And we're going to have a pinch hitter for Adelman. It'll be Tony Renda coming up. And before we tell you about him, we're going to send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Of course, the Cleveland Indians coming in to Globe Life Park starting tomorrow night for a 4-game series over the weekend. Here's Tony Renda off the bench as a pinch hitter for the Reds. Tim Adelman finished for the night. Renda, just a 200 average. He's 5 for 25. As a pinch hitter, he's gone 2 for 6. This is 15th game for the Reds this year. And he has a base hit to center field. He got a pitch up from Darvish and shot it right back through the middle of the diamond. There is the first base hit of the night for the Cincinnati Reds against Yu Darvish.
Might have been a cut fastball that just hung up in the middle of the plate. Renda hit that ball sharply.
And normally guys coming off the bench, if they have pinch hitting experience, are pretty good fastball hitters. And they like to do it early in the count too. Renda got a pitch to his liking, and he is on base with 1 out. Now the top of the order once again, Billy Hamilton, who is 0 for 2 with a couple of fly balls. 1 ball and no strikes.
Well, Adrian's going to make him hit the ball by him at third base. He's playing significantly in at third base, not going to let Hamilton bunt. The thing with Hamilton, you can play in halfway. He lays down a perfect bunt. You still might not be able to get him.
Yeah.
Saw that last night on the sacrifice bunt. Mitch got him at first, but just barely.
Yeah, and that was with both corners kind of crowding home plate on him too.
They knew he was going to bunt.
Now Darvish ready for the 1-0 pitch. Renda started to second and slipped. He had to reverse his field. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Jonathan Lucroy looking into the Ranger dugout saying, hey, let me know. Somebody in there start talking to me about if Renda's taken off from first base. I need to know that. There's a strike, 2-1. Catchers with a left-handed hitter up there really rely on the bench to have somebody out there yell, there he goes, so they know when the runner at first is taken off. They can't see him very well. He's blocked by that hitter. Reds love the running game. Renda part of that. High chopper, tough play for Elvis. Bare hand and throw, and he threw it away.
That was a throw you just shouldn't make. Elvis knows better than that. He knows who's running. He's got no chance of getting him. And that just was the wrong play.
Well, it's going to be an infield single for Hamilton, a throwing error on Elvis Andrus. Puts runners at second and third for Peraza.
That was a hit the minute that ball hit the ground in front of home plate. That's a hit right now. Just catch it and don't throw it, especially after it bounced and you had to barehand it. That's nothing Elvis doesn't know right now.
Yeah, even a perfect throw right on the money is a step late on that play. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, it just wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah.
There really was no chance to get him. There was a chance you could make it a close play, but no chance to get him.
Renda on to third on the error. At second now Hamilton. Infield will play back with 1 out. Rangers leading 5-2. Up the middle between the legs, and it goes to Elvis, who has the out at first. In to score is Renda. And Yu Darvish just couldn't get the glove down quickly enough. That went right between the wickets.
That was not a hard hit ball. That was just a softly hit tapper.
He's going to get an assist on that. It ticked off his glove. So it goes 1-6-3 on the putout. I think Yu Darvish will tell you, I should have had that ball. That might be one that was hit so softly, or hit a lot more softly than he thought. He reacted as if it were hit hard. So here's Votto. Takes outside for ball 1. Votto has struck out, grounded to second tonight, 0 for 2. He's got Hamilton down at third. It's a 5-3 Ranger lead. We play in the bottom of the 5th inning. 2-0. I don't think they're going to take. No, they're going to go ahead and walk. You fall behind 2-0 to Votto. You got 2 bases open. You don't even give him a chance. I think last night, if it did nothing, it was proved that Votto's not the guy you want to pitch to. With the base open.
No. I think it's 450 since the All-Star break.
And the 4th wide one. The intentional pass. Votto trots down to first. So runners at the corners with 2 outs. And Adam Duvall will step in. Well, Darvish hasn't been able to get Duvall tonight. He's hit him with a curveball, and he's walked him. Duvall has been aboard twice. No official at bat yet. He has scored a run. Rangers will group their infielders around to the left. It's Moreland holding Votto at first. And other than that, Odor, Andrews, and Beltre on the third base side of second. 0-1. Darvish taking a little bit extra out for Duvall at 96-mile-an-hour fastball. Darvish now up to 78 pitches for tonight. It's been an inconsistent night for him. Oh, 2.
Well, Duvall punched out 3 times in last night's game, and he's got him in an 0-2 count right here. Generally, when you gets an 0-2 count, the hitter, no matter who it is, doesn't have a great chance of getting hit against him.
Well, if he keeps that fastball, if he wants to throw a fastball and keeps it right there where the last 2 were, he's got a real good chance to get Duvall swinging. Going to jerk that through the strike zone. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And you see Darvish trying to work it out mentally and then show himself or remind his hand what he wants it to do, how he wants it to react. One of those nights where it was good early the first inning and then vanished for Darvish. He's had to battle it ever since. There goes Votto, and the pitch is popped foul. Lucroy back to take a look, but it's about 3 rows deep.
Now that's a pretty good catch by a fan right there. Barehanded catch on a high pop-up like that. That guy's played some ball before.
Lucroy out in front of home plate, making sure the infielders know exactly what the plan is if Votto takes off again and the ball is not put in play. Where they're going to throw the ball, what they're going to do. Got speed with Billy Hamilton down at third base and Joey Votto at first. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Duvall. Darvish picks out a sign. He is ready to go. Two balls and 2 strikes.
If you had your choice, you'd want to go after Duvall right here. He's a 240 hitter. He's a dangerous hitter, but he's a 240 hitter. He's prone to the strikeout. And Brandon Phillips is a pretty accomplished veteran hitter coming up next. So pick your spots and go get this guy. No guarantee because this guy's an all-star, but percentages are in your favor.
There goes Votto, the 2-2, call strike 3. Came back with a slider and painted the outside corner. And that'll do it. The Reds come up with a run on 2 hits, an error, and 2 are left. So Darvish gets the final out. We'll go to the 6th inning with the Rangers leading the Reds 5-3. Slam inning brought to you by Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is $400 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, John Gloria from Austin will win $400. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, John is going to pocket $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. John, I like the chances here. You got Beltre, Odor, and Lucroy. And a new pitcher on the hill for the Cincinnati Reds, taking the place of Tim Adelman, Michael Lorenzen. Guy has come out of the bullpen to take over. Lorenzen in his 21st game of the year, 2-0 record, a 2.70 ERA. I think hitting just 218 against Lorenzen, and one of the hard-throwing right-handers down in that Cincinnati bullpen. And Raisel Iglesias, who we saw last night, very good arms coming out of there. Lorenzen just a 24-year-old. He's dealing to Adrian Beltre in the first pitch, a 96-mile-an-hour fastball for strike 1. Beltre 0 for 2. He has popped to second and lined to right.
That looks like the same combination we saw last night from Iglesias. 96-mile-an-hour fastball and a good slider to go along with it.
To right field, this sends Shepler back to near the warning track. Second time that Beltre has lined to Shepler. 1 out. Rougned Odor coming up. We'll wrap up the Star Wars weekend at Globe Life Park this Sunday when the Rangers take on the Indians in a 2:05 game. The first 15,000 fans will take home a Texas Rangers Star Wars poster. That's compliments of Takis. Purchase your tickets today at TexasRangers.com, and may the Force be with you. Rougned Odor 1 for 2, a single and a run scored this evening. One ball and 1 strike.
Looked like a cut fastball at 93 miles an hour.
And Lorenzen misses inside. Lorenzen, my hometown, Fullerton, California. Grew up there, went to Cal State Fullerton, had a good baseball program. Sharp ground ball to Votto, and he will race Odor to the bag and win that one. 2 gone. Now Lorenzen, a 38th overall pick back in the 2013 draft. Reds got him in a competitive lottery round A pick. Made his major league debut in 27 games last year with the Reds, went 4-9. Jonathan Lucroy 0 for 2 tonight, although he reached on a fielder's choice in the second. Came around to score. Tim Adelman, 5 innings of work, 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned. He did not walk a hitter. Off the end of the bat, a roller to Phillips. That'll do it. So Lorenzen comes in, has a very quick and tidy 1-2-3 inning. Rangers gone in the 6th. After 5.5, Rangers 5, Reds 3 on Fox Sports Southwest. In at Globe Life Park, the first 15,000 fans of the game on Saturday will receive an Elvis Landrews Calrissian Star Wars bobblehead. That's courtesy of Takis. And you don't have to smuggle your way across the galaxy in order to pick up one of the coolest bobbleheads of the year. Purchase your tickets today at TexasRangers.com to see the Indians take on the Rangers and take home this special collectible. The Rangers leading 5-3. Yu Darvish back out to the mound. Will work here in the 6th inning to Brandon Phillips, Scott Schebler, and Eugenio Suarez. 3 runs on just 2 hits off of Yu Darvish tonight. Darvish, though, has walked 4. Almost hit Brandon Phillips with that first pitch.
Yeah, see that's the same pitch that Duvall got hit with to start the 2nd inning.
Yeah.
Duvall just stood there and let it hit him. Other players have the reflex to get out of the way. And Phillips is probably going, man, I should have just stayed there and let it hit me. But you don't think that way when you see the pitch coming at you. Some guys can do that. Some guys can't.
Now Phillips tonight is fly to center, fly to right. Pops this one high in the air. A trio of Rangers in pursuit. Rugnet goes into a slide and comes up a little bit short. Great effort, though, by Odor. He was the only one that had a shot at that.
Yeah, it's just in no man's land. Everyone gave it their best shot. No one could get there.
Just by that much. Odor saying to Darvish, go ahead and pitch. I'm all right. Just don't make him hit it this way. We'll have to go running after it. A 1 ball and 1 strike to Brandon Phillips. Phillips a .283 average as Darvish sets to work to it. This one popped up. That's a little bit more playable.
Phillips Phillips slammed his bat into the ground after that one. He's not very happy with that. I am, though. I don't know why he slammed his bat.
You Darvish is.
If he knew how happy I was, he wouldn't have slammed his bat. Hang in there, Brandon.
And you got to be careful in this place without a whole lot of crowd. Everything you say reverberates here a little bit. I learned that lesson in Cleveland in the old big stadium. One day there's about 2,000 people there. I got a little irate about something.
Did it echo?
It echoed. They could have heard me out by where the chief was pounding on the drum.
Uh-oh.
Schebler in a hurry, and he beats it out.
That's you're playing back there. That's the risk you take. Guy can run a little bit, hit that chopper. You almost have to field that ball like it's a do or die play. You don't have time to wait for it.
Yep.
You got to charge it, catch it on the run, and throw on the run.
Schebler knew coming out of the box that he had a chance to beat that out.
Yep. And from Rugi's point of view, you just don't get a chance to make that play very often. You're not exactly sure what to do on it.
No, the third hit of the night. Oh, the Reds. 1 on, 1 out. Eugenio Suarez, who is 0 for 1, a strikeout and a walk. Suarez, a .250 hitter. Suarez, good power, 19 home runs this year. He has driven in 59. One-oh pitch. That last one for you, Darvish, is 89th offering of the night. And we'll get some action going pretty quick here in the Ranger bullpen. The 2-0. 3 balls, no strikes. Now Suarez hitting 7th. He'll be followed by the catcher, Ramon Cabrera. Ball 4. 5th walk of the night issued by Darvish. And there are 2 on with 1 out, and Cabrera coming up.
Second time Suarez has walked.
Tony Barnett starting to loosen rather quickly in that Ranger bullpen. Well, Darvish, we mentioned a streak of 6 consecutive quality starts coming into tonight. Last time he failed to go at least 6 innings. Back on the 16th of July, his first start after the All-Star break. First start coming off the disabled list. He only went 4 1/3 against the Cubs. He was on a strict pitch count at that time. Since then, he's been able to go an even 6 twice, 6 1/3, 6 2/3, and twice he's gone 7.
It's just been a weird game. The Reds scored 2 runs in the second inning without a hit by pitch, 2 walks, and an error. No, I should say a pass ball.
Yeah.
Then an error played a part in the run in the 5th. That was an unearned run. And now a ground ball to second base with a shift on turns into a base hit and a walk. And now there's 2 men on in this inning.
And the pitch to Cabrera is in at the knees for strike 1. Cabrera tonight had a fielder's choice grounder that drove in a run. That was back in the 2nd. For Cabrera, his 15th RBI of the year. Last time up, he skied to left field. Schebler and Suarez, 2nd and 1st. Cabrera, the switch hitter, up there from the left side. Statistically, this the lesser for him. Drives this one to right center field. Desmond can't get there. 1 hop and into the stands. And it's going to be a double. That's going to save the Rangers a run. It's still a problem. But Suarez is going to have to go back to third base. And that makes it a 5-4 game.
He's looking for a fastball. He got loaded up in a hurry right there. He got a pitch right in his wheelhouse and put a good swing on it. Fortunately, it bounced into the stands. The Rangers are in a tough situation, but at least have a chance to get out of the inning now with only 1 run scoring.
Ivan DeJesus Jr. is going to come up. We saw him pitch hit last night. DeJesus a .234 average. And he comes up with a tying run at third, the go-ahead run at second, and just 1 out here in the 6th inning. DeJesus pitch hit last night and struck out in the 8th inning. Ball 1. Rangers playing the infield back with 1 out and 2 on. You don't want to increase the chance of a bigger inning. Foul back, 1 ball and 1 strike. Jesus 7 out of 24 as a pinch hitter. He can get the ball in play up the middle of the diamond. He's going to get an RBI and going to tie this ball game at least. And that's what his aim is right here off Darvish. Check swing. Did he go? No, he did not. Appeal down to Dale Scott at first base. 2 balls and a strike. Darvish in a pickle right here. This would be a great time for a strikeout. He has fallen behind. 2 balls, 2 strikes now. Now it would be suggested that whatever Yu Darvish has left in his pocket, that he go ahead and bring it out.
Yep.
This is about the time you need it.
Yeah, here's where you do go for a strikeout right here. It's been a tough game. He's had a battle the whole game. Just hasn't had his command. Battle out of this jam.
Now the right-hander sets, a check of the runners. In the air to center field. Tagging at third is Suarez. Desmond with a catch. The throw to the plate. Not in time. And we've got a brand new ball game. DeJesus, the sacrifice fly, drives home Eugenio Suarez, and we are deadlocked at 5.
Again, it's been just an unusual game and a tough inning. You get the first out on a pop-up. Get a ground ball to second that looked like a nice quick 2 men up, 2 men out, and it turns into an infield hit. Then a walk, a double, and a sacrifice fly, and right back where we started from.
No, DeJesus, the sacrifice fly, and he and Desmond did everything he possibly could to throw him out of the plate. Just a little bit too deep.
No, the thing about that throw is there's probably 4 or 5 guys in the league that are definitely going to be sent on that ball that might have been thrown out.
Yeah.
From that far out.
Now Desmond has that combination of a quick release and a very strong, a shortstop's arm. Strong and accurate.
That's a deep throw. You don't see anybody thrown out from out there.
Hamilton pops it up out in front of home plate. And Lucroy takes care of it. That'll do it. But the Reds come back. They get 2 runs on 2 hits and leave 1. We'll go to the 7th inning. It's now the Rangers 5 and the Reds 5. A lot of long balls in this one. Nomar Mazara, his 15th of the year. A 3-run blast got the Rangers out to a 3-run lead early. Then Yu Darvish helping his own cause. First career home run, first home run by a Ranger pitcher in the last 19 years. That was followed by a rifle shot from Ian Desmond into the seats. His 21st of the season. The Rangers 3 home runs, 5 runs on the board, but the Reds have come back to tie it as Blake Wood enters the ballgame to take over in the 7th inning. Blake Wood, the 31-year-old right-hander out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. His 56th appearance of the year. He is 5-1, a 3.66 ERA, and the league hitting .254 against Blake Wood. Wood originally with the Kansas City Royals organization. He was their 3rd-round pick back in the June 2006 draft. Played 3 seasons down at Georgia Tech, and he is in here to face Mitch Moreland, Nomar Mazara, and Elvis Andrus. Mitch hit a bullet that was picked off by the center fielder Billy Hamilton last time up. He is 0 for 2. That's a rip shot into right field. That's going to settle in for a pretty solid base hit.
That one might have hit the scoreboard if he got it up in the air. Would have gone up above the exits. A couple of guys hit him above the exits in batting practice. Hit that ball just like Rubned hit the ball early in the game. Pitch up and away. Nice short, quick stroke.
Well, the Rangers with their 6th hit of the night as Moreland leads off the 7th with a solid single. Nomar Mazara has had both ends of the spectrum tonight. A 3-run home run in the 2nd, a strikeout in the 5th. Ball 1. Mazara currently hitting at .282. His RBI total now is up to 49 for the year. A little bit outside. Jake Diekman, Rangers southpaw, loosening in the bullpen. Looking down the line, the pitcher spot. 2 hitters away. Mazara, then Andrus, and in the pitcher spot. Two and 1. Nomar Mazara still atop the leaderboard for rookies in the American League in a lot of different categories. He leads in total hits, 115 now, and total bases with 175. Also multi-hit games. Chopper to the right side. Phillips to get 1 at second. The return to first in time. A 4-6-3 double play nicely turned by the Reds, and the bases are empty with 2 outs for Andrus.
Very nicely turned. Looked like with those big hops, it might be a ball that they could only get 1 on, but Phillips is a veteran, knows how to turn that thing. Perfect throw. Strong throw back to first.
Oh, 2nd double play of the night for the Reds. They have 105 for the season. The Rangers, by contrast, with 161. Here's Elvis, who is 1 for 2. Andrus had a 2nd inning single. Last time up, grounded out to his counterpart, Jose Peraza, the shortstop. Left field, that's hit pretty well. Going back, Duvall leaps up and hauls it in. Well, Duvall playing relatively shallow, had a long way to go back, and he made a nice leaping catch, and that'll do it. Rangers no runs on a hit and nobody left. A double play and a very nice play by Adam Duvall. We'll take the stretch in Cincinnati, tied at 5. Finishing up here tonight in Cincinnati. Then a lot of blue on the schedule for you. 4 with Cleveland starting tomorrow night at home. Then Seattle comes in for that red out 3-game series. You're red out to Globe Life Park Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoon for the Mariners series. Day off on the 1st of September, and then a weekend series with the Houston Astros. They will be in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before the Rangers hit the road for the last long road trip of the year. A game that looked to be pretty well in hand a couple of times tonight has been tied by the Reds, and Jake Diekman taking over as we go to the 7th inning. Diekman pumps in strike 1 to Jose Peraza. Peraza tonight 0 for 3, but he had an RBI on an infield ground out. No balls, 2 strikes. Our Kubota power stats, the subject would be Jake Diekman this evening. Hard throwing Ranger left-hander among American League relievers. Opponents on base plus slugging 3rd at 503. That's the 3rd lowest. Did he go around? No, he did not. Dale Scott said nope. No, 1 and 2 to Peraza.
Darvish walked 5 batters tonight. He walked 4 batters in his last 6 starts.
Yeah, it was, as you mentioned, Tom, a very odd game for him.
It really has been an odd game. And even with that, with some plays made and some strange things not happening, it would have been a lot better outcome than it was. As it is, he gave up, it turns out to be a quality start by the definition, 3 earned runs in 6 innings.
Poked into right field. Right there, Carlos Beltran, 1 out. Now Peraza out. Joey Votto will be next before he steps in. Let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Chevy game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Votto reaching out and poking one out to Elvis. So Votto 0 for 3 now with that ground out. He wasn't going to hang around too long to face Jake Diekman, was he?
Yeah, it's not fun. 2 quick outs for Jake. Only thrown 6 pitches. They face a tough part of the order. Peraza, a 300 hitter, Votto and Duvall.
Now, Duvall had been on twice tonight against Yu Darvish, and hit by a pitch and walked. The only time up that he had an official at bat, he struck out. Breaking ball on the first pitch. Duvall swinging fastball and didn't get it. 0-1. Last time we saw Jake Diekman was on the Friday game down in Tampa Bay. Worked 1 1/3 scoreless innings in that ball game. Jeff Bannister mentioning that every time he gets an opportunity to back off on using Diekman and Dyson, he's going to do it. Keep him as fresh as he possibly can coming down the stretch. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rangers 5 runs on 6 hits tonight. Reds 5 runs on 4 hits. Both ball clubs have committed 1 error. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Duvall. Reds as a team still 10th in the National League with a .249 average. They're 8th in runs scored. A little bit outside, and the count now is full. Diekman got ahead very quickly at Duvall and has not been able to put him away. Base is empty with 2 outs. Duvall trying to get aboard to extend the inning. Brandon Phillips will be next. Payoff pitch from Diekman. Lost him. Second walk for Duvall tonight. Been aboard 3 times with 2 walks and hit by pitch. Now Brandon Phillips.
Yeah, in the game, of the 5 runs, a hit by pitch and 2 walks turned into runs. Last night, walks turned into runs.
Yep.
Rangers haven't been able to get the double play ball working for them.
Have not had one in this series.
No.
Brandon Phillips flied out twice and popped out. .283 average. Odor quickly to Andrews for the force on the sliding Duvall. That'll do it. No runs, no hits. 1 left on the walk. We're going to the 8th inning here at Great American Ballpark. 5-5 the score.
Ohio. We welcome you back to Great American Ballpark. Rangers and Reds trying to decide this one and figure it out before the Rangers head on home for a long homestand that starts with another Ohio team. The Cleveland Indians come to town. Elvis Andrus wishes he could play Ohio teams all the time. Done well here, and look at his numbers against the Indians. Mike Napoli's been as hot as almost anybody since the All-Star break, and I'm not sure if he still has a home in DFW, but if he does, the party's at Napoli's. AT&T high-speed internet reminds us the game starts at 7. Coverage at 6:30 tomorrow, guys.
All right, John, thank you. Well, we head to the top of the 8th inning, and Jurickson Profar has come off the bench to pinch hit for Jake Diekman. Well, Profar, we saw him last night. He had one pinch hitting appearance and a .258 average, 5 home runs, 18 driven in. Trying to get a board against Blake Wood, who misses high and away.
Now, Wood's control has not been impeccable. He's walked 32 batters in 60 innings. That'd be a good way to get a rally going, get that leadoff hitter on.
Yeah, for Blake Wood, that has been kind of the story of his career. It just hasn't been consistent enough for him to really establish himself. Fires a strike there to make it 2-1. Blake Wood was a starter in the Kansas City organization until 2009, then converted to the bullpen. Made his major league debut with the Royals in 2010 as a reliever. To left field, slicing back toward Adam Duvall. Profar is out number 1. That'll take the Rangers back to the top of the order for Ian Desmond. Well, Ian hit that line drive, that vicious line drive that got out of here in no time last time up. He went back-to-back with Yu Darvish. 21st home run of the year for Ian Desmond. That was Ian Desmond's first extra base hit in the month of August. If you can believe that.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. That was his first home run since July 27th. Here we are on August the 24th.
Well, again, like we were talking earlier, you know, when guys go that long without doing something, they tend to gravitate back to what they've always been. So it just means got a few more coming here.
Matt Bush down there in the Ranger bullpen. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Now our AT&T high-speed internet replay. Here is that line drive we were talking about. That thing hit off the top of the exit. Carry him clear back to second base, I think. A bolt out of the blue. Topper foul. Desmond still has life. A ball and 2 strikes. He had 21 hits now in August, and the first 20 of them were singles. Now, granted, some of them drove in some pretty important runs for the Rangers, especially on that last homestand. It's not like Ian Desmond to go completely cold on the extra base hit. Wood gets set. Another 1-2 pitch is coming. Hit him. Fastball up and in, and Desmond will go to first base. So the Rangers have their top stolen baseman now aboard with 1 out. Carlos Beltran coming up.
Yeah, you got speed on the bases, the right part of the lineup coming up. Looked like he tried to throw a cut fastball. It's hard to tell. The ball just stayed up and in like that. But when you're down in the count, provided there's no injury, take one for the team. That's a good spot to get one right there.
Well, it hit all 3 people around home plate, so that was pretty much a pinball effect. Here's Beltran, who's 0 for 3. Now Blake Wood, another big guy, as we talked about with Tim Adelman. Wood goes 6'5", about 240. And Part of his problem with runners on base is he delivers the ball slowly to home plate. Throws it hard, but it takes him a while to throw it. Pitch out. Cabrera would have had a pretty good shot if Desmond had been running, but he wasn't. Ian among the league leaders in stolen bases this year. He is tied for 7th with 18 of them. One on, one out. A 5-5 ball game. Rangers batting in the top of the 8th inning. Desmond a pretty good lead. He's on the move. The pitch is a strike. The throw is late. And Desmond able to swipe second. So he is in scoring position for Carlos Beltran.
That's a good call on the move to the plate, Buzz. Very slow to the plate. You could tell that Desmond was itching to go. And they picked the right one to go on. They didn't go on the pitch out. Went on the next pitch. I guess it gave him time to look at that delivery one time to time it. But there was very little that Cabrera was going to do.
So Desmond has the go-ahead run out there in scoring position. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count to Carlos Beltran. That ball's ripped to right center, but Hamilton has it played well and makes the catch for out number 2.
Well, that's one of the problems in this series. Seems like every ball the Rangers hit hard to the outfield is either right at somebody or someone makes a nice play on it. Duvall's made a nice play today. Hamilton's made several in the series. Schebler went back and jumped for one near the wall. The Rangers have hit a lot of balls hard without much to show for it. Carlos can't hit the ball any better than that. It's a matter of where they go. We compare that to the ball that Cabrera hit to right center field. Basically the exact same ball. One was in the gap and one wasn't.
And that makes Carlos Beltran 0 for 4 tonight and 0 for his last 24, which ties his career high or career low, if you want to look at it that way. He had an 0 for 24 streak back in May of 2000 when he was a Royal.
Well, he hit that ball. He had a fairly hard line drive to first base.
Yeah.
Well, he's hit several balls good tonight. Well tonight.
Well, here's Beltran. Adrian, an opportunity to get the Rangers back out in front. 2 balls, no strikes. Beltran among the league leaders in these situations with runners in scoring position. He's 10th, the .344 average. I'm going to break it down further. Got a .291 average with runners in scoring position and 2 out. 2 balls and a strike. Beltran tonight has twice lined to right field. Also popped up to second. Blake Wood, a check of second base. Popped up. Over to take a look, Votto, but he's going to run out of room. That's 7 rows deep. Two and 2 the count. Outfield playing Beltran straight away in all positions. The infield swung around 3 steps to the left. Desmond the lead from second. Line drive right center field. That is up the alley. Desmond around third will score. Beltran comes through one more time. An RBI double. The Rangers lead it 6-5.
Well, they finally found a hole with one. Adrian also hit a line shot to right field that was caught. That one found the gap. So finally the Rangers were able to hit some grass instead of leather. Fastball up. And Adrian drilled it.
Wood didn't get it up high enough. It's got to be above his cap.
Yeah, that's not high to Adrian.
No. That is hit number 2,900 for Adrian Beltre.
Wow.
39th all time. Here's Odor, who takes inside. So if you want to plan ahead, sometime, maybe next late May or June, get tickets to every single ball game, and you see Adrian Beltre get his 3,000. He is the closest active player now to that 3,000 hit plateau. Ichiro Suzuki, remember, got 3,000 a couple of weeks ago, and that put Beltre in the spotlight for the next man up. And Adrian continuing to pile them up. Odor has a base hit and a run scored tonight in 3 trips. Brugden at 273. Trying to pick up Beltre from second base. Up the middle. But right there, the shortstop Peraza to throw him out. And that'll do it. Adrian Beltre, though, gets the Rangers out in front once again. A run on a hit, 1 man left. Bottom of the 8th coming up. Rangers 6, Reds 5. The Fan present $10 tickets in the Lexus Club Terrace and the upper level seating sections for August 29th through the 31st. Plus, take 20% off Rangers red merchandise at Globe Life Park in the retail stores. That goes on through August 31st. Pack the park, wear your red as the Rangers battle the Seattle Mariners to defend first place in the AL West. Let's show them that they're in Texas now. Tickets are available at TexasRangers.com. using the online coupon code REDOUT. Well, Matt Bush has come into the ballgame to take over on the hill. A double switch with Bush now hitting in the number 4 slot, previously occupied by Rougned Odor. Jurickson Profar, who pinch hit, stays in the ballgame. Matt Bush, his 42nd appearance of the year, 5-2, a 2.98 ERA.
Thank you.
Scott Schibler. There's Jurickson. Profar at second base. Scott Schibler leading off. Schibler had that infield single against the shift that really started the 2-run uprising in the 6th inning that tied the ball game at that juncture off of Yu Darvish.
Yeah, again, one of the strange things in this game, that starts a 2-run rally, a dribbler to second base.
And you can see the Rangers deploying a little bit differently against Schibler this time. Moreland will take this one to the bag. Shepard might have good speed, but he's not going to outrun that. 1 out. Next to be Eugenio Suarez. Suarez has walked twice tonight. He scored last time that he walked. That was in the 6th inning. His only official at bat. He went down swinging in the 4th. Rangers 6 runs on 7 hits tonight. They left a runner on base in the top of the 8th. That's the first runner they'd stranded tonight. There's that breaking ball. Matt Bush throwing early in the count. We don't normally see Matt do that, but he was able to drop that in to Suarez. Boy, that sets up a lot of good possibilities, especially when you throw 97 on the outside corner to back it up. The 0-2 pitch. Didn't quite get that away the way that Matt wanted to. So I say thank you very much that was a foul ball.
That was 100 on the scoreboard.
At number 3.
Like we say, you got to, when you throw it 100, you have a chance, better chance for a foul ball than you do if it's 90. That's what he was trying to throw, Buzz.
Yep, right up there. 97 and a punch out. 2 gone. Well, that's the advantage you have when you're Matt Bush and you can drop a curveball into the first pitch.
Yeah.
You really put people at a disadvantage.
Well, as a hitter, you're exactly right, because what you're saying is, I know he's throwing 100, but I wonder if he's going to throw me another curveball.
Yeah.
You're not looking for it, but it's in your mind.
Sure.
And so you're not 100% committed to the fastball, and you need to be when it's going that fast.
2 out. Ramon Cabrera, the catcher, who doubled in the first run in that 6th inning, takes a strike. Again, the curveball dropping in there. Cabrera has driven in 2 of the 5 Cincinnati runs tonight, so he's up to 16 in the RBI category. 1 out of 3. Nothing in 2. Our old friend Ross Ohlendorf, right-hander up and going. Tony Sangrani, who we saw last night, kind of stretching that arm out a little bit. Bush with the 0-2 pitch. Softly into shallow left. Mazarek calls off Elvis Andrus, and that'll do it. Matt Bush, a very nice 1-2-3 8th inning. We're going to the 9th in Cincinnati. Rangers leading the Reds 6-5. able to talk about a Ranger victory here. If they can close it out the next inning, coming about here in the 9th inning, they're going to face a former Texas Ranger from last year, Ross Ohlendorf, the 34-year-old right-hander now appearing in his 53rd game of the year for Cincinnati. He's 5-7. He's been the do-it-all pitcher for Brian Price's club. Starts, innings eaters. He had 53 innings coming out of the bullpen. .233 opponent's batting average. He will face Jonathan Lucroy to start off the Ranger 9th. Lucroy, Moreland, and Mazzara. Lucroy 0 for 3 tonight. Reached on a fielder's choice back in the 2nd and came around to score. Lucroy, very familiar with Ross Ohlendorf. 4 for 7 with a home run. One ball and one strike. Ohlendorf last year with the Rangers appeared in 21 ball games, went 3-1, and a 3.72 ERA for Texas. He is a native Texan. Down the line and left into the corner, long run for Duvall, and that ball is just foul.
Boy, that just looked so fair until right at the end. Of course, we don't have a very good angle. Hit it off the end of the bat a little bit. It's a little bit out in front of it, and it's hooking. Looking like it's got a chance. Boy, that's only about a foot foul.
Yeah, you can go and measure it right there. The ball stayed right there where it hit. No.
The Rangers had a ball in the first game. Ian Desmond with at least a man on, maybe a couple men on, shot that ball in down the right field line. It was fouled by about a. Well, they looked at the replay to see if it was fouled. That's how close that one was. I wouldn't say the Rangers have hit a lot of luck in this series.
No, they haven't had a whole lot of bloopers fall in or anything like that.
I guess you can't call it luck, though, when Billy Hamilton runs those balls down. That's what he does out there. But still, he's taken some big hits away from the Rangers. Billy Hamilton.
Yeah, bad fortune. It's not good luck. Going outside, the count has gone full now to Lucroy. Jonathan trying to get aboard to start the Ranger 9th inning. Mitch Moreland, the first baseman, is next. The Rangers might have had 4 or 5 more hits in a series had Hamilton not been out there.
That's right.
Let's put it that way. Ohlendorf to the line, the payoff pitch. Up the middle, he flags it down. One down, Mitch Moreland coming up. We're going to go down and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, what a weekend it'll be at Globe Life Park in Arlington. Not only will it feature the top 2 teams in the American League record-wise right now, but it is Star Wars weekend. Papa John's Throwback Thursday collector pin comes your way tomorrow. The post-game fireworks show presented by Takis on Friday. That Elvis Landris Clarician bobblehead. Scott McCreery post-game concert presented by Budweiser on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the Rangers poster presented by Takis. That's all Star Wars celebratory. It's all this weekend when the Indians are in town. It'll be the 2 teams with the top records in the American League, guys.
All right, John, thank you. It's going to be a big weekend, and Rangers looking to come home with a win under their belt. Mitch Moreland hit the ball hard 2 of the 3 times he's come to the plate tonight. 1 out of 3. One ball and 1 strike. Sam Dyson, Ranger closer, getting ready in the Ranger bullpen. Sam goes at a speed that'll get him to within 6 or 7 pitches of being completely ready. Moreland lofts one to left center field. Hamilton calling for the fair catch. 2 gone. Hamilton and Adam Duvall going to discuss things a little bit. Say, look, I can cover a lot more ground than you can, so just you stay over there in left field and I'll take everything else.
Yeah, just if you have to go to your right, run hard. If you have to go to your left, don't worry, I'll be there.
That's just about right, too.
All that's going to happen is you're going to get in my way.
Well, here's Nomar Mazara, that big 3-run home run back in the second. Oh, and 1. Mazara after that struck out and grounded into a double play. 1 for 3 tonight. Average currently at 281, as you will note. That ball's ripped to right center field, but Billy Hamilton shading that way. No problem for him, and that'll do it. 3 up, 3 down. Ross Ollendorf sends the Rangers out in order. We're going to the bottom of the ninth. It's Sam Dyson time at Great American Ballpark. 6-5 Rangers. Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By AT&T high-speed internet. Get a deal worth talking about. Get high-speed internet from AT&T. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today during the Ford Freedom Sales event and see why Ford is the best in Texas. Well, Sam Dyson out of the Ranger bullpen. He is taken over here in the ninth, looking to close out his 28th save of the year. 60th game of the year for Sam Dyson. 27 out of 31 for the right-hander. He is 1-2 overall. 254 opponent's batting average against Sam. Last saw him down in Tampa Bay, giving up a couple of runs in just an inning of work. Drew Stubbs has entered the ball game to take over in left field. And moving from left over to right, Nomar Mazara. Tucker Barnhart, switch hitting catcher, coming up as a pinch hitter. He is leading off this ninth inning. Saw Barnhart last night. He caught game 1 of this 2-game series. 261 average. Rolls over on one. Moreland right at the bag, steps on first. That is out number 1.
I just love to see that leadoff hitter making out in a 1-run game. A little bit of breathing room. Not a lot, but a little bit.
Well, now back to the top of the order. And here's the guy you want to make sure and keep off the bags. That'd be Billy Hamilton. Hamilton just 1 for 4 tonight, but he causes all kinds of problems.
Well, that little chopper he hit played a big part in the rally.
Sure did. Moreland right at the bag again. He's getting a workout here. A little pepper with Mitch tonight. 2 out.
Well, now Peraza's a pretty good hitter. He's a 300 hitter, but get him and get Joey Votto out of the ball game one more time.
Yeah. Let him go ahead and have the rest of the night off.
Yeah.
Now Peraza intentionally walked. Oh, excuse me, that was Votto in the fifth inning. Peraza grounded out, but he had an RBI. Peraza 0 for 4 this evening. 0-1. Tyson tuning it up to 97.
99 on their scoreboard. That's nice to see. Throwing strikes and with that velocity. He's had a little bit of rest. That's probably something that's refreshed him a little bit.
1 ball and 1 strike. Ranger infield playing just about straight away for Peraza. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Take my chances with that same pitch again. 97 miles an hour right on the outside corner.
You get a lot of guys out with that pitch.
Peraza doesn't have power. He's a good hitter. He puts the ball in play, he can run. He's not really a power hitter, so there's very little he's going to do with that pitch if he does put it in play.
Dyson with a 1-2. Looked like that might have been that power changeup that he just held on to a little bit too long. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Sam Dyson out of Tampa, Florida. 28-year-old right-hander. Rangers got it just over a year ago from the Marlins. Took over the closer's role back in May. Trying to close out his 28th save of the year. The 2-2 pitch. Slowly hit. Beltre charging. Bare hands. Throws. Got him.
Wow, what a way to end the ball game.
That is a winner with an exclamation point.
I'll say.
Beltre drives in the winning run and makes a critical out for the final out of the ball game on a marvelous defensive play.
That kept Joey Votto from getting a chance to hit with a man on base. Beautiful play by Beltre. Knocks in the winner, makes a beautiful play. That had the makings of a frustrating ball game, but fortunately the Rangers hung in there, battled through a couple of weird innings, got the big hit from Beltre, got some excellent relief pitching from Diekman, Bush, and Dyson, and pull out an important win. That was nice.
Yeah, for the first time in 5 days now, the Rangers